Hi, I'm Chris Blake. The film you're about to see is aimed at leaders for the workshop, A Sanctuary for Conversation. We're holding this workshop to enable safe spaces to take root in Adventist churches, safe spaces for healing, positive, informed, authentic conversation. And as a result, we hope that people will fall more in love with God. So thanks for participating as a leader, and we hope you get to visualize what's happening as a result of this film. Thanks again.
I got it.
I know.
Candy is coming.
Oh, good.
And for whatever it's worth, I brought the tickets.
Very good. So
There you
those can be
go.
set right there. Perfect.
Excellent.
Welcome everyone. We're glad you're here. We're going to get started. Thank you so much. And as is custom at Adventist gatherings, we are going to start with prayer. Okay, the first thing is we're going to start with an activity. Okay, stretch across here. Try to be pretty close to a single file. Let's see how this works, okay? So you're at that line, that white line, behind the white line. I'm going to call out some things, and I'm going to ask you to, if you qualify, to walk past this black line. And then I'll tell you to go back, just if you qualify in these different areas. It's called cross the line, okay? Here we go. Cross the line if you ever walked to school as a child. Right here. If you ever walked to school as a child, go cross that line, okay? Yeah, some of you aren't sure if you did. You're still walking. All right, thank you. You may go back. Cross the line if you have strong feelings for or against country music. For or against, we're not going to say which. Country music can be the great divide. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, thank you very much. You can do the two-step back, some of you. Cross the line if you've ever deeply hurt someone by your insensitive words. If you've ever deeply hurt someone by your insensitive words. Anyone? Yeah. Yeah. You're not sure? Yeah, okay, all right. This is kind of like Adventist confession, isn't it? Over here. You may go back. Thank you very much. Cross the line if you wish the Adventist Church's conversations about LGBT plus people could lead to more clarity, healing, and hope. Cross the line. All right, this is a good sign because this is why we're here. All of us. Now let me ask you all a question. How did this feel? Let me just hear from maybe two or three of you. How did this feel, this cross the line? Raise your hand, I'll just point at you. Yeah, Terry.
It felt good because most of the people were crossing the line, you know. Of course, some of the questions they didn't, you know, but most of them were crossing the line. So most of us are in the same place, same space.
It felt good because you didn't feel like you were alone.
I wasn't.
Okay? We need to get in a big circle right in here. This is a huge place for this, and it's nice. Sometimes we get in like 3 different circles, but this big one would be good. Let's see how this works. I've never done a circle this big. Yeah, you don't actually have to hold hands, but you can if you want, if you're feeling friendly. Okay, now take about 3 steps in. Take 3 steps in. And that's going to be about right. About 3 steps in. That's about right. That's good. All right, here's what we're going to do. Yeah, you can join. If you just come in, please join a circle, okay? All right. Right now, I'm in about the center of this circle, okay? Just to tell you about where the center is. In our country and in our church, we are being divided by 2 words, liberal and conservative. Those 2 words have been used to brand and divide and dismiss. and they have caused, frankly, irreparable harm. We're going to use two other words this day and get beyond that liberal-conservative divide. My belief is that if Paul were walking the earth today, where he said there in Galatians 3:28 that in Christ Jesus there is no free and slave, there is no Jew and Gentile, there is no male and female, he would say today there is no conservative and liberal in Christ. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say something, and if you believe this is central to who you are, right now you're on the periphery. If you believe it's central, you're going to walk toward the center. If it's peripheral to who you are, you just stay where you are. If it's kind of important, you'll take one step. Maybe two if it's more important. Okay? Here we go. We'll test it out. First one is organized religion. Yes, you move into the middle if it is central to who you are. If it's not central to who you are, you stay on the end, on the outside. You might take one step in, you might take two. Organized religion. Ready, go. All right? Okay, for some people it's more important than others. You may go back. Worship music, central or peripheral? 1844. Now I want you to understand what's going on here. If we had an opportunity to talk to everybody about why they took a step in, why they didn't, we would find all sorts of interesting things. State of the dead. The doctrine, state of the dead. Yeah, I would be right here in the middle. This is why I came in the Adventist church. This is central to me. Because I couldn't love a God who would fry people forever. Vegetarianism. Oh, had somebody take a step backward. Couldn't get through the door.
Just say vegan.
Vegan? Oh, even vegan. Okay. Yeah. Now, wouldn't it be interesting to have a conversation? You understand what we're doing here? We're getting beyond conservative and liberal, aren't we? Jewelry. Jewelry. What you wear, jewelry. Is it central? Is it peripheral? Okay? You got to decide for yourself. Now, let me tell you something. 40 years ago, this circle would look different. Jesus.
Don't have to fight about being in the middle.
Yeah, there was a fight long ago about who was at the right hand, who was at the left hand, right? But here's the thing that I find in Adventist churches. When we say Jesus, people come together and now we can see each other. Now we're close.
Praise God.
You know, now we can look in each other's eyes. Now we can listen to one another. Now we can pray together. In fact, let's pray right now, okay? God, help us to remember this clot of compassion here. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to, I think I'll have you get on, let's see. Yeah, move along this white line again. Let's get on this white line. This one, it's imperative that you are single file. Now I want you to line up in order of your birthdays. And that's January 1 to December 31. Ready, go.
February.
Appreciate that. Okay, by the way, what just had to happen for us just to line up? You had to communicate. You had to listen. You had to talk. Very simple. But without that, it won't happen. Without communication, it doesn't happen. Okay? Now here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go through and I'm going to divide you into sixes, and that's your team for your table for the rest of the afternoon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You 6 go to a table, maybe at the far end over there, okay? Normally we have numbers. I'm just going to say table 1. You figure out what that is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 will work out just fine. As long as it's an even number, okay? You're at your own table, okay? Go ahead. Just jump into the table that's open. Handing out the workbook. So people like Matthew and Jeff who are going to help me out, you can help hand out those workbooks. That would be great. You know why we did this, don't you? We did this so we could just break people up so you get to know new people. That's why. Okay, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to take you through this workbook. We're going to have an enjoyable time, and we're going to learn, grow together. On page 1, where it says name, please write your name in there. Now, there are some people that say, oh, you've got a hidden agenda. No, we don't. We write out our agenda. It's right here for everybody to see. Here's our agenda for today. Our agenda: we aim to create safe spaces for positive, healing, informed, authentic conversation. You can see the schedule right underneath, okay? We've already gone through 2 of those, prayer and welcome and active learning. We did some active learning, and now we're moving ahead. How to listen, how to talk, and you can see the others. We're going to have a break a little later on with some refreshments as well. We lined up for birthdays, and now is going to be a time for introductions. So what I want you to do is to choose somebody next to you, and this is really important. Make sure nobody's left out. And you're going to learn their name. What's going to probably be helpful, really easy, because they're going to have it written on their name tag, but maybe get their last name as well. Your age, when you first decided to follow Jesus and name the place, or when you made a big decision in your life, if you choose, something like that. Who knows? It might be getting married or not getting married. And your favorite dessert. Okay? Now I looked around, I said that, and I see smiles all over the room. It's funny how that brings that out. We're going to do this just for about 2 minutes and 22 seconds. So make sure you get to know your neighbor, share with them, and make sure nobody's left out. Ready? Go. Two. Just get to know one person. We don't have time otherwise. Let me think here. Okay, I think, how about you 2 get to know each other and you 3 get to know each other. All right? Let's do that. Let's look at page 4. Okay, page 4. The top here, you see types of non-listening. I'm going to go through them with you. Pseudo-listening is pretending to listen when our minds are elsewhere. Some of you are doing it right now. Next one, stage hogging, turning the conversation to ourselves and often interrupting. Number 2 there is employ and. When you're talking, the word but tends to cancel what came before. Using and works best to add rather than diminish. Listen to the difference here. I love you, but you drive me crazy. I love you, and you drive me crazy. You hear the difference? Okay? All right? You might still be driven crazy, but still the love comes through. How to listen better. Okay? Turn the page. Page 5. On identity. This document was created to facilitate better conversations. Let's look at a few examples. We won't look at all of them. You can on your own time. But here we go. You can see it says, instead of assuming, on page 5, try this. So here we go. Instead of assuming you don't know any lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, or queer people, try acknowledging you likely do know someone, even if you may not be aware of who it is. Okay? So on the self-check, here's what you get a chance to do. Please write in what makes you optimistic when you think about the possibility of your church listening, loving, and learning. Please write your response below. I'll give you 2 minutes to fill in that response. Ready? Go. Share with your partner what you wrote. Ready? Go. If you'll turn the page, this is the time for an interview that we're going to have. And so I'm going to ask Cam and Heidi to come on up, take a seat, and you can take notes at this time when we do our interview, okay?
Hi, my name is Cam, and I'm a queer student at Pacific Union College. Nice to meet everyone.
Okay. Say that again.
My name is Cam, and I'm a queer student at Pacific Union College, and it's nice to meet everyone.
All right. What's your major?
My major is film and TV production.
What year are you?
This is my second year at Pacific Union College.
Okay, there you go. All right. That's all right.
Hi, my name is Heidi Arias. I was a PUC student, graduated in 2003 with a business and a PE. My wife is here today with our two daughters, Mila and Remy, who's 3 months old.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask some questions here. Tell us about a transformative moment in your life. When was it?
When I hear a question like that about a transformative moment, it actually happened in the church. I was probably 8 years old, and my whole life had been being a part of the church. Every activity, every friend I had, I went to the academy at my church, and my entire circle was Seventh-day Adventist. But I lived around a park, and I would go pretty often, and I made my very first friend outside of the church. And after a few weeks of knowing this kid, I invited him to the church for Vespers, or after Sabbath. And I remember being very happy about inviting him, and that he agreed to come. And we went to the service, and we were going to play afterwards with all the other kids. But when these kids heard that he was not Seventh-day Adventist, it turned into something that I had never experienced before, and it kind of woke me up at that young age. I remember how these kids were ignoring me as well for hanging out with him, and ignoring him, and whenever he tried to play with anyone, whenever we tried to be a part of the situation in the playground, a lot of insults were thrown. And I mean, as a kid, to be exposed to what a group, it's just an entire group that is a certain way, and that even you saw it as a positive group, because that was my family. To see them being harmful to another person, it made me start questioning whether or not my attitudes towards people were justified. If I was being harmful to others based on the fact that I was a part of something. And I remember just being a part of that, and adults weren't saying anything. And I don't know, I think that's the moment I decided that anytime someone is going to be made to feel separate from a situation, especially a Christian situation, that I was going to step in and make them feel comfortable.
A big moment in my life was, I believe, my freshman year here at PUC. I was told throughout my high school life that I was gay. From my mom, she told me all the time, you're gay. I know you are. And I said, no, I'm not gay. I didn't even know what it was, really. So my freshman year, just came to school here. I was very happy just to be far away from my family and I just wanted to go to school and play basketball. And I gravitated towards females also that were gay without even knowing. I was kissed by a female at that time, and an RA caught us and pulled me aside and gave me a lecture about it. I pretty much freaked out because she said she was going to tell the dean. But the next day, a good friend of mine came to me and said, the missionary person who was going to come with me to be a missionary to an island just dropped off. Do you know anybody who wants to be a missionary? And I said, I do. Just because I just wanted to run away. I was like, didn't know what was going on. So the next thing you know, I was on a plane and I was a missionary in Mandurah. And during my time there, it was an amazing experience. I definitely was trying to figure out who I was, wanted to figure out my faith. And so going across and being on this tiny, tiny little island when it was just her and I became friends with a woman in the island, and the friendship ended up being, later on, she was attracted to me, even on the island. I was like, are you kidding me? I ran away from all this, and it's still right in front of me. And again, my conversations with God and stuff is just like, what I learned, I took out of that, I can't run away. It was a really tough situation. It's like, throughout the whole year, it was not a sexual relationship or anything like that. It was we just fell in love just by talking, and I just learned that I can't run away. People are starting to fall in love with me, and I will fall in love. And it was very traumatic at the end because I had her cousin was stoned on the island because she was accused of cheating.
She was killed.
She came running to our house bleeding, and I gave her my partner and I gave her first aid, and we asked her what happened. She said, they're throwing rocks at me, they're stoning me, they're accusing me. And that was terrifying. Sooner or later, a couple hours, a group of people came and dragged her out of our house. Never saw her again. A couple weeks later, another friend of ours in the island came to me and said, Heidi, I know about you and this other woman, and if you don't leave, that's gonna happen to her. And I left, but I took from that experience, I just can't run away. This is who I am, regardless of wherever I go in this world. I have to deal with this. I have to accept that I'm gay.
I'm going to ask my helpers to hand a piece of paper. Please keep it face down and do not read it. This activity is called Stand for Your Belief. So what I'm going to ask you to do at this point is to turn over your paper silently, without marking on it. Count the number of F's in your statement. Count the number of F's and then turn it back over. No, do not write it. Just count it silently, then turn it back over. Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you had a message with only 2 F's in it, stand up. Stand up if your message had 2 F's. Only 2 F's. 6 F's. If you had a message with 6 F's. Okay, you had 4. Okay, looks like we don't have any 7s. It looks like okay. If you are willing to die for your belief that you are right about this, stay standing. This is called Stand for Your Belief. Okay? If you had a message with 6 F's in it, you can sit down. If your message had 6 F's, you may sit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, perfect. 7's the perfect number. Okay? Unfortunately, 7 people died today It's a sad thing. By the way, you all had the same message. You all had the same message. You may sit down and look them over. Many of you did not count the ofs because you sub-vocalize and you hear V. I'm going to ask you for a little bit of feedback right now. How do you feel right now? Raise your hand and I'll call on you, okay? We're going to do an interview right now.
My name is Judy. I am a licensed clinical social worker, so I am a licensed therapist, and in my career over 20 years, I've worked both as a social worker and a mental health counselor. I've had a large number of LGBTQ plus many others as patients and clients.
What I especially would like Judy to do is to explain some of this on 41 and 42, you know? It seems kind of confusing to me. And so I'm looking in this, you know, like I see gender queer over here, and two-spirit, and gender neutral, and all sorts of things, you know? It almost looks like it's not just positive and negative here. It's a sort of a, what's going on with these two pages?
Well, I like it that you said it's not just positive and negative, because it really can be kind of a continuum. And I tend to think that we may worry about these designations too much, wanting to know and wanting to have it all figured out. And I often tell family members or friends, if you're not sure, you can ask. So it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual. And even with many straight heterosexual couples, how often is it sexual? There may be couples that live together through much of a marriage relationship with very little or no physical intimacy, because that's not a part of their relationship.
Yes.
The same is true for other orientations. Sex is maybe a part of it, but it's not the whole thing about it.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to people to ask. Anybody have some questions for Judy? Well, I think I'm going to start off with that same question. What was a transformative moment for you?
When you asked that earlier, I started to think about that, and it's very easy to say the transformative moment in my life was when my child came out, but as I really thought about it, I think it's kind of a two-part question for me. It kind of dealt with the whole fear issue as well. Very early, well, we'd been married about a little over 4 years, and we were done with the seminary and had come back into a congregation, and I got pregnant. And we were very excited by that. And so fairly early in the pregnancy, we made the joyful announcement up front that the pastor and his wife were expecting a baby. And you got all the hugs and all of that. And the very next day, I miscarried. And that experience, I think, taught me to be closed. Taught me so much so that when I got pregnant the second time, I was lucky it was winter time and the era of big sweaters and big skirts. And I went until the beginning of my 6th month before we told the church.
Yeah.
So I learned from that a certain closedness and not willing to talk about those things. So when our child came out to us, it was, those of you who don't know us, my husband is a pastor, and so that's him. And so that it kind of gives a more difficult, for some, a position. And so as we dealt with this, to some extent, we kind of just pushed it down. And that's not a healthy place to be. And so we did have to deal with it at some level, and we took a sabbatical.
And thanks so much for being here. It's been heartening to see your input. God bless you. Let's end with prayer, okay? God, thank you for the ability to listen. We appreciate you, and we've felt your presence here this afternoon.